Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. My name is Tom Connors, and this is our second annual, or would it be annual? It would be annual because it's weekly. Second weekly Ladies' Night. See, I'm off to a great start already. Uh, with me tonight is Ren and Random Gameuser42, and they're going to kind of take over the show. I'm just going to kind of MC, be your producer in the background. I'm your Robin, if you guys were Howard Stern and whoever else. So, yeah,
I thought I giggled a lot.
Yeah, there you go. Well, either way. You guys got a lot of good stuff planned for us, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time.
Absolutely. A lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Take
and
over.
Some more of the same stuff from last week as well.
Yeah, a few updates, and then at the end of the show, of course, or after we get through the topics at hand, I'll chime in with some questions.
Ren was like really super excited to get started on well, I'll just let Ren start it off with some of the stories because she's actually comes prepared. I just kind of show up last minute and don't know what to say, so I'll let Ren get started.
Okay, so I was actually really excited to see that there was an update to the story around the Buffy reboot. So Owusu Breen, the writer who's working as a showrunner along with Monica Owusu Breen, the writer who's working as a showrunner alongside Joss Whedon for the Buffy reboot, has a quote that she released on Twitter that makes it sound like we are not going to be getting a reboot of Buffy starring a new Buffy. It sounds like it's going to kind of be its own thing. So what she says is, for some genre writers at Star Wars, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my Star Wars. Before I became a writer, I was a fan. For 7 seasons, I watched Buffy Summers grow up, find love, kill that love. I watched her fight and struggle and slay. There's only one Buffy, one Xander, one Willow, Giles, Cordelia, Oz, Tara, Kendra, Faith, Spike, Angel. They can't be replaced. Joss Whedon's brilliant and beautiful series can't be replicated. I wouldn't try to. But here we are 20 years later, and the world seems a lot scarier, so maybe it could be time to meet a new Slayer, and that's all I can say. So, I'm excited, because that actually sounds like it could be intriguing. It sounds like it could be a prequel series, or it might be a sequel series in the future after multiple Slayers have been awakened. So, I'm really excited to see how this turns out now. If it's bad, I'll be sad and frustrated, but at least there's some potential that this would actually be good.
Yeah, I think with a reboot, it's not going, or a sequel or a prequel, it won't affect Buffy's storyline, so at least there's that. I get so tired of them just redoing and rebooting stuff, and then it kind of destroys the characters you already know and love when they do that, you know?
Yeah, and I think that especially when you have, a world like the Buffyverse where there's a lot that you can work with in terms of tangential stories, in terms of different things, that there's not really a reason to just retread the same character when you can do all kinds of different things instead.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think exploring other Slayer story arcs could be very, very interesting. From considering what you said with the ending of Buffy, not to really spoil anything for people who haven't seen it, but
it is from the 90s. If you haven't,
yeah,
seen
I know. I feel so bad about spoiling things, even though it's even a 3-month-old spoiler. I feel bad, but if you have all the Slayers from all throughout history kind of coming together, and all these other Slayers from other parts of wherever, I think that's kind of an amazing thing to then kind of lead up to the big battle thing at the end of the original series. So I would love to see how that plays out, and hopefully it's good for the fans.
Yeah, I just really want it to be good. I want something good so bad, and it's the kind of thing where part of you wants more, just part of you wants more Firefly. But if they tried to reboot it now, it would be a disaster. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be the same. It's too late. The comics got a little bit weird. It's too late. It can't happen. So it's one of those things where you're I want more, but I also don't want more. Not like this. But this one, it actually sounds like it could. Good. I'm so hopeful.
Well, and sometimes when you get like sequel series so much later, I mean, look at Star Trek: The Next Generation. That was a good period of time after the original, so at least that one was good. So, and how many years has it been since Buffy's been off the air? Like,
Oh,
at
man.
least a dozen? At least
Yeah,
10?
it's been a lot longer than that. I think it's been like 15 years at least. I think it stopped airing in like 2003.
Yeah, so if they do like a continuation or something, I think that would be really, that could actually plausibly work. I mean, I think the biggest point is as long as they don't just say, okay, and now Buffy is this person, and we have to basically see the exact same story again, and that's kind of one of the things that fail so much every time you see superhero origin stories. Like every time you see Martha Wayne's pearls fly, we don't need to see it every single time we see these characters. Just give us new ones.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I'm like always a little baffled by in a lot of the superhero universes is they just keep like how many times have they rebooted Spider-Man? So many times.
Yeah.
So many
I
times.
lost count.
It's like every couple of years it's like, hey, you guys want a new version of Spider-Man? It's like didn't we just see this? Didn't we see this like 4 times already? Oh no, again? Okay, alright, I guess.
They kept doing that with Batman, and they kept doing that with like so many superheroes. Why? I don't know why they like. I don't know why they think that we need to see this. Like, do they think we're forgetting this? I know that they're for like newer audiences to grow up on, but I always grew up on like older shows as well as newer shows, and a lot of young people will still go back to something older nowadays, and they will still say, yeah, I like this. I see so many kids who are like, yes, I watched Mr. Rogers on YouTube, and they're not watching, they're not watching a reboot, they're watching the original, but they're also watching new shows for them. And
oh my god, I would fling myself off a bridge if they tried to reboot Mr. Rogers.
Exactly. There's so many shows you just don't, or Bob Ross, and unless it's Deadpool in the parody from the trailer.
My god, Deadpool is Mr. Rogers. Oh no.
Well, it's Bob Ross even, but yeah, no, Deadpool as Mr. Rogers would actually work really well too. That'd be hilarious.
His little sweater.
Okay, now that has to happen. I would pay.
I would watch that.
It's so it doesn't stain boys and girls.
Oh my god. Everyone gets bloodstains sometimes.
I would wait for like the episode where he has to grow a new hand.
You just have to kill a mofo.
No, that's bad.
Oh no.
But yeah, so the Buffy reboot, hopefully it'll be good. We'll still see. It's still in the early stages, so hopefully we'll be fine.
All right, so needless to say, that's pretty much all there is to say on Buffy then until we learn more about it. You ladies did have a few things to say about the DC universe, especially Batwoman. We had a question earlier about Birds of Prey, which is also supposed to be coming as a film, but the Batwoman is actually a TV series. So you had a few things especially to say about that, Ren, so why don't you kick that off?
Okay, so I will say full disclosure, I am not super into the DC universe, but I was really intrigued when I realized that they were going to base the Batwoman series off of the 2006 comics, where she was reintroduced as an open lesbian character, and I'm really intrigued to see what they do with that, because like if they do a good job, that could be really interesting and pretty groundbreaking to have the first LGBTQ character in a lead superhero role. And I like that it's something that's already been established in universe. It's not just something they're pulling out of their ass. It's something that's been around for a few years. So I'm really interested to see how that turns out now.
Yeah. Well, and I think for so many of these superheroes, like from what I'm hearing from like all of the whole Comicsgate stuff is don't reboot characters with like, don't make them gay, don't make them ethnic when you could just make a new character. But with something like Batwoman, I was always under the impression like for years and years and years that she kind of started out as a lesbian. So correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
Honestly, I don't know. When we did the story, I did not even realize there was a distinction between a Batwoman and a Batgirl. That's how dumb I am on that subject. But I know the Bat family is huge. Like, to me, I said, if they're going to do this, they better do a Batmite movie next. Because, I'm not against it. If the show works out okay, that's cool. CW has a fairly good track record. I kind of backed off of... I left Arrow probably after the third or fourth season, and I have to catch up on Flash. Other than that, I have yet to really get into any of the other shows. I saw most of the first season of Supergirl on CBS, but I haven't seen any of the CW Supergirl, so I can't comment on that. But I know
it's fun.
Yeah, I've heard it has a fairly good following. I've heard basically what they're doing wrong in the movies, they're getting right on TV for the most part. So I'm intrigued to see how they're going to introduce Bat characters into a universe without Batman. Because it's like, I get it, but it's like, okay, so are you basically going to then just give her kind of the same kind of weight Batman has in a universe then, or what are you going to do? That's what I'm kind of curious. Without Batman, how does she factor into this? Because obviously she was, inspired by Batman in the first movies, That's where I'm kind of like, I'm not sure how that's going to work out unless they kind of talk about Batman like he exists, but he's just around. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how she'll fit into that. I think I'm actually going to go back and read the comics in anticipation for this because I'm intrigued. They sound fun. And I'm not always into superhero comics personally, but I definitely understand the appeal, and from time to time I get sucked into them. So I'll probably give this one a chance just so that I have some kind of frame of reference to compare the show to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, Gotham doesn't interact with any of these characters on the CW unless somebody knows otherwise. Please tell me out there in the chat, because I dropped out of Gotham a couple years back too. The shows got way too weird for me, or soap opera-y or whatever. Flash is the only one I kept up with. I admit that. So, and I don't know how these are all going to tie in with the Titans series that is coming on the DC streaming. And I believe so. And this new Batwoman series, I have no idea how much they're going to adapt, so I can't tell you that either. So that's about the best I can tell you on that. And I'm going to shut up now.
Well, I wonder if it's going to tie in like and they do the same explanation like they did in the Titans trailer with Robin's F Batman statement. I wonder if it's going to be something like where they just kind of give it a passing. Well, no, Batman's not here. To heck with Batman. We're doing Batwoman now. Just kind of like the Titans, maybe.
Right. Well, the one thing I do, as far as I know, as far as Batman goes, I don't know for sure, but I've heard that there is an unspoken rule over at Warner Brothers, or there is a spoken rule that is flat out told that they can't use Batman in the TV stuff. Like they were able to use Superman and Supergirl. They can do Gotham, but they can't use the Joker, and they can't use Batman. Those are like the only two rules I guess they have.
That's really funny.
At least that's what they started
a lot.
with. Yeah.
I think I'm probably fine without Batman and the Joker, to be perfectly honest. Though,
yeah, I almost like that
so
forces
tired.
them to be creative and do something else for once.
Yeah, I just get so tired of the same couple of characters over and over and over again.
But at the same time, it did make him make like faux Joker.
I'm so bored of the Joker.
But it made him, do this
Ever
whole
since
storyline.
Suicide Squad, I'm just like, stop for a while. Heath Ledger did it best. Just stop for a while.
Yeah.
And like in terms of like animated shows, obviously Mark Hamill also did it best. Like,
yeah. What were you saying, Tom?
Awkward silence.
Sorry.
I was just saying that I don't even remember exactly what I was saying now. It's all right.
Doing our best.
No. I'm just trying to fill in the blanks here and there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But speaking of women in powerful roles, you guys had a few things to say about the Star Wars story group, something that Rob and I haven't really discussed too much. We've kind of wanted to avoid some of the controversy, considering majority, if not all, of the story group are women. So this is a perfect topic for you guys to tackle, is it not?
Yes.
So who knows the most about this up front?
Random probably knows more about
I was
this.
going to say,
Yeah, I might know a little bit more. So, for those of you who might not be aware, Kathleen Kennedy decided to put together this story group of employees to kind of build to be behind and build and kind of draw out drafts of and ideas for what would happen in this new trilogy of Star Wars movies that we're almost finished with, thank God, because they have been terrible. But so she hired people, not logically like a normal person would, based on what kind of writing credibility they have, what kind of knowledge of the Star Wars universe they have, but based on what is in between their legs. And basically she went around hiring a bunch of people whose only qualification was you have to be a woman and you have to love Star Wars, which could really mean anything. That could be hey, I love the I love that C-3PO on the Star Trek, or I mean Star Wars or whatever. Sure, can I have the job? And that's basically who got hired. So some of these people, they have maybe about 3 scripts between them from any sort of television in industry, like insider or any sort of history. 1 or 2 have like executive producer credits. But yeah, so there's like 7 or 8 people who only have 3 scripts between them. And it's very, very depressing. Like, I get very depressed by this. I've heard, I don't know, I can't confirm or deny that they're making like 6 figures on these shows, and I just hear that and I get so depressed. Or in the story group, to write these movies, and I get so depressed by it. And to me, I don't know about you, Ren, but that kind of sounds sexist to me. What does it sound sexist to you?
Well, I'm looking at the list of the people who are in the story group, and it seems like there are lots of men.
are there?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's Leland Chi, he's a man. There's Steve Blank, James Waugh, Josh Rhimes, Stephen Fetter, Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah.
It seems like it's actually majority men.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
And like
call.
so since it's majority men, it doesn't seem like the qualifications were just, do you have a vagina? Do you like Star Wars? Because there's like also a lot of dudes here. Not that they're doing a great job. I just don't think that gender appears to have all that much to do with it, just based on what I'm looking at. I'm just looking on Wikipedia though.
Yeah, because there's like a whole in-depth Reddit post and all of these things. And I think the uproar is that is the sort of from what I am understanding, and I don't have my exact proof or anything anywhere, but the call went out for women. Like, that's all they would want to hire, and that just seems to be an odd practice. So.
If you consider Pablo Hidalgo a man.
I know.
Cold.
Okay, well, from what I can see, there's a little bit of comparison here to like the whole Star Trek Discovery situation, to where you have a lot of people who aren't exactly writing within their wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these writers clearly show why the series has taken the route it has, I guess, for a lack of a better way of putting it. And I know like a few of those guys you mentioned they get crucified just as much, so they're especially Pablo Hidalgo. But frankly, there's a difference between loving Star Wars and understanding Star Wars. And then at the same time, you have a situation where Rian Johnson, who wasn't a woman, was allowed to pretty much do whatever he wanted and make the world's most expensive fan film. And that's really what it boils down to here is I don't know if these story writers are really doing what's best for the fans or doing what's best for a political agenda underneath the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy, which, of course, we brought up yesterday in live show that we're not even sure how much in the loop she is anymore because she had no clue about JJ's announcement that they were using unused footage from episode 7 to have Carrie Fisher appear in episode 9. She had said something about, oh, he must be confused, and then had to go back on that. So that kind of confirms some of the stories we had reported earlier, that she obviously is already gone. She's just basically there because she technically is, but she's not really in charge anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's we don't have any confirmation on that, but I know there was some controversy with this writers group that came out last week, and like I said, Rob and I really didn't get into it too much. So, I really don't have too much to say other than what we've already said about the whole situation before. So I don't know if you guys have anything more to add to that than that, but
I think for me, they just seem so underqualified to be in charge of like such a huge franchise and the stories. If these people, if it is true that these people, barely have 3 scripts between like the lot of them, and most of them come from like a few executive producer jobs from like a decade ago, and then they had a huge unemployment gap or whatever. I think that type of stuff, for me anyway, is very, very concerning about what type of stories we're actually going to be getting out of these story groups. And if that is the case, then it kind of makes sense with the stories that we've been getting being so incoherent and so 7th grade and amateur with some of these things. But I guess that's all I really had to say about that.
I don't know. It seems like some of them aren't quite as experienced as I'd like, but I'm looking at it and a few of them seem to have more than a couple producer credits here and there. Yeah, I do think it's kind of odd how inexperienced a lot of these people are, though. That is a little bit surprising. Again, I don't think that it's all that based along gender lines, because the group's, there's lots of male representation in the group and they're still bad.
Yeah. Well, I guess even we can just throw out the she's hiring women and just look at them based on
like
qualifications.
Who are they hiring?
Yeah, silly.
People?
I shouldn't have even. No, that's exactly what.
I also, the thing is, I also understand how you would get that impression because that's the way people are talking about it. It's only women that are writing these movies. Just when that's not necessarily the case, which is the same thing that people did when there were bad episodes of Rick and Morty, when they found out that more female writers had been added to the Rick and Morty team, and they were like, oh, it's all the women writers ruining the show.
Yeah.
But it's but that it's not only women writers, you guys. That's not the problem. It's that they're hiring underqualified writers for whatever reason. And I'll agree. It's odd that they don't have more experienced writers working on one of the biggest and most well-known franchises of all time. That's very peculiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think they would have...
What?
You would think they would have very qualified people behind the scenes working on these, they brought on Lawrence Kasdan and stuff to work on The Force Awakens and stuff like that. I have a hard time believing he did much on Solo. I think his son had more to do with that than he did, but there's a big dip in quality after that because none of the stories match up, and that's my biggest issue. I don't have as big of a problem with The Force Awakens as most people do. My problem is The Last Jedi feels like it's made by somebody who didn't watch The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I actually I had mixed feelings about The Force Awakens where I enjoyed parts of it, and I personally liked Rey as a character and didn't even hate her in The Last Jedi. I just hated a lot of the writing in The Last Jedi, and I was like, wow, this could have been good, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, and it's so sad that they didn't tie them together. I mean, when I came out of The Force Awakens, I'm like, okay, I think that's okay. I think they're going to set up something really awesome here.
Yeah,
and then
I liked where they were going direction-wise with The Force Awakens, and then The Last Jedi was strange. Also, I'm really furious about what they did to Laura Dern. I love Laura Dern. I love her. What the hell? Personally, I'm not actually angry about the Poe thing at all. I think that was fine. I was angry that she didn't decide to turn around and blow up the other ship until, basically all of her ships had been destroyed. There was no story reason for her not to turn around and do the ramming speed thing, as dumb as that actually was.
Yeah.
In terms of, punching just a bunch of, plot holes into the other movies, but but I was just like, why is she just sitting there, just watching ships explode? She's already on a suicide mission. Like, what the fuck, man? This is terrible. And then, like, what they did with Princess Leia,
and it's not even bad sci-fi writing; it's just bad writing.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
What they did with Leia still makes me so angry. Like, they had the perfect death scene for her. They had a flawless death scene for her, and then they just Mary Poppinsed her onto the ship. What are you doing?
Well, you would be expecting her to die by being blown out into space, you know?
Right.
This is subverting your expectations.
Well, and it wouldn't even been so bad, but they gave her nothing to fucking do for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. No, she was just in a coma and then hanging around, and I'm like, or you could have had an impactful, heartbreaking death scene that references one of her quotes in a brilliant and charming way. Oh, no, it's garbage. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. There's so many moments in The Last Jedi where I was thinking, God, wouldn't have I had just cried in the theater? You know, had Rey landed right in front of Luke, and she's like, here's the lightsaber. He takes it, and she's like, we need you. And he goes and he uses the Force to lift his ship out of the water, like he couldn't do.
And it didn't even have to be right away, but a natural progression to that.
Yeah.
That's what everybody was hoping for. And it was like set up perfectly for that. But Ryan had to subvert expectations and make everybody's theories wrong. And
like a punk.
I'm still a big angry about the giant waste of time that was stupid Snoke. Like, what was the point of that? Oh, cool. Yeah. A generic, pasty-faced discount Palpatine. Oh, he's dead. Cool. All right. That happened, I guess. Didn't have any stakes here, didn't care about this character at all because he was barely a character, so it's fine, I guess.
And I can even forgive the little tidbit bullshit. Like, I can forgive the bombers in the beginning because Star Wars has never been scientifically correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's always been romantically
It's always been
sci-fi,
way more
blah, blah. Yeah.
It's been way more fantasy than sci-fi,
right.
if we're being real with Star Wars.
And
like,
even
it's
the
a
Force
space
lightning
opera.
and
It's
a few
space
other things
fantasy.
I can forgive. It's just the bad storytelling, the fact that it doesn't match up with The Force Awakens, that even arguably, you know, because I mean, all movies are subjectionable or whatever you want to put, how you want to put it, but there's objectionable things that don't match up. You know, it's like, okay, sure, Luke is a little bit of a dick, but why did he leave a map?
Yeah. Biggest plot hole.
No, I don't want to be found, but just in case you need me, here's a map. Oh, you need me? No, I'm not going.
And it makes that scene where he turns to R2 and goes, that's a cheap trick. Mean jack shit. Because that should have been the moment where Luke went, God damn it, she's my sister. I gotta go. You know, something like that. You know,
there's so much potential. Well, at least there's a re-edit coming. So, if anyone hasn't seen it, Ivan Ortega's re-edit's going to be amazing. So
unless there's anything more to say about that, you ladies did want to talk a little bit about Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Speaking of subverting expectations, I know that's a horrible, horrible segue, but this new version is kind of doing just that, is it not? And it's based on the comic. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that. I think, Ren, you had the more knowledge on that, did you not?
Probably. So I was a huge fan of Sabrina the Teenage Witch when I was like a tiny child. I used to watch it all the time, and then earlier this year I read the comics The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I basically just binge read all of them, and they are just a much more adult, much more occult version of the story where it's just a lot darker, and it's very well done, and I'm really excited for the reboot because I think it's going to be great. The actress they cast to play Sabrina is where is it? Oh, I lost it. One sec. The struggle of live.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name either, but she was from Mad Men.
So she played Sally Draper in Mad Men, Kieran and Shipka, sorry. And if any of you guys have seen Mad Men, Sally Draper ended up becoming a more prominent character in the later seasons. At first, she was kind of just, a potato child hanging out the first couple of seasons because the children characters weren't important at all. And then she had kind of an interesting coming of age story that was pretty well done. And I'm really interested to see her in this role because I think she has the chops to do it well. And the original show holds up pretty well and is really fun, but I'm really excited to see a new take on it, and I think it's going to be good. And I think it's the kind of like supernatural, like cheesy TV drama that we need to replace garbage like Supernatural that's just been like doing its endless death rattle, shambling along, doing the same thing over and over for the past gazillion seasons.
I didn't even know that was still on the air. Wow.
Yeah, it's still going. It stopped being good after like season 5, and it's still going.
I think I tuned into one episode thinking, "Hey, this is a new ghost show." Nope, it was a scripted,
Isn't it mixed
dramatic
with Scooby-Doo now too? Or didn't they do
no.
a Scooby-Doo movie with them or something like that, or an episode?
What, Supernatural?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I hope not.
I thought they did. Somebody out there tell me in the chat.
It wouldn't surprise me even a little bit.
I could have swore they did.
I haven't watched it in years. Supernatural is one of the cringier fandoms where I generally try to avoid interacting with people who are still into this show.
Well, it seems like such a hot topic sort of show too.
It's such a hot topic show. Like, it's. Oh.
I guess to me a hot topic show would be like 15 to 25-year-old fans who do things ironically and they like cringy things because it's fun. I don't know. I guess I don't understand.
Oh no, it's me.
I don't know. I guess I don't understand, but no offense to people who actually genuinely like the show, but
I mean, I personally do admit to watching a lot of trash TV and enjoying it. Like, I admit that it's garbage, but I've seen all of Riverdale. Like, I'll own it. It's garbage. I know it's not good, but I'm very entertained by it.
Well, I think that's the point, though. You really
being good, but
yeah, like if Star Trek Discovery or something, which is garbage, we're more entertaining. I think it would be fine. I think it just needs to go a little bit more over the top, in my opinion. And I think some of these shows really need to kind of take the stick out of their ass and just be entertaining.
I mean, hate watching Star Trek Discovery is kind of fun in a I want to leap off a bridge kind of way.
Nah, it just makes me want to have angry sex or eat or both at the same time. Like, it just makes me so angry.
I need to smoke, like, copious amounts of weed before I watch Star Trek Discovery, or I can't really get through it. I saw the trailer for Season 2, and it was just painful. Just painful.
Well, what's bad is I put I did a breakdown of the trailer and I put, warning. I break it down every little thing I can possibly find to complain about in this trailer. I do, and I even put a warning: you will be triggered if you like Discovery. Don't watch this video.
Oh, I got so many angry men on my channel bitching about how good Discovery is and what a fake fan I am for not liking it. I'm like, eat my dick, you asshole. I'll watch what I want, and I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, see, at least in the kind of Star Trek community, at least I'm finding more and more people who are like, "Oh, you don't like Discovery? We accept you. You're one of us." So at least there's that. There's like awesome communities like Midnight's Edge and Doomcock and everybody who absolutely hates Discovery.
Yeah, the people who actually like watched Star Trek before Discovery.
The people who matter. The people who watched Star Trek before 2009, I find is the cutoff. Like, you had to have kind of gotten into the shows before the 2009 movies. It seems to be a common denominator with people who like Discovery.
Oh my god, can't believe those movies are already 8 years old. That's insane. Or the first one, oh my god.
I know. It seems like yesterday.
Oh, that's wild. God. I was so frustrated by those movies. Like, the first one was, like, fun, but not great. And then, like, the second one was just painful. It was so bad.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I heard it was gonna be a con thing, and I'm like, no, I'm just not gonna watch it. I cannot watch somebody else's con.
like Bendy Buns Bandersnatch, but like I don't understand why they decided to redo him in his con. That was a weird choice.
Yeah, he's a perfect Doctor Strange. I mean, like, I'm not a huge superhero or comic book movie fan, but I think Doctor Strange was my favorite of all of them, just because his performance was so well. I mean, so much of it was great, but
yeah,
like, and that's another one. Like, get really baked and watch Doctor Strange. Highly recommend it. If you're in a state where it's legal, if not,
I am. I'm in Washington. I can smoke all the weed. Oh, he was one of the few redeeming things about the tragic and agonizing mess that was the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in those, but I can't.
He was Smog.
Yeah,
and he did an amazing job. But those movies were just so fucking bad. I'm like still furious about those movies actually, because I loved The Hobbit as a kid, and I loved the cheesy animated ones. I think the Rankin Bass movie.
Yeah.
Like that's objectively like a better telling of The Hobbit than these movies were, and it's just painful to watch.
I did like Riddles in the Dark. They did get that fairly decent, but other than that, yeah,
they had a couple of like good scenes where you're like, oh wow, this could almost have been good. Like I think Martin Freeman was an amazing casting choice for Bilbo. Too bad the movies were just fucking trash. Like that scene where like Legolas is jumping up a crumbling bridge like some kind of deranged video game character. I'm like, oh man, what is this?
You remember, this is the same company that could have made a trilogy out of it and filmed them all at the same time, but instead decided to only do 2 movies and cram that book into 2 movies. And now they're, trying to play catch up and make a sequel, but they decided to stretch a 200-some page book or whatever it is, The Hobbit is, into 3 fucking movies and add a bunch of characters. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
Endless padding,
yeah,
yes.
Like, also, I despised the barrel scene, how they made it into this, like, dumb, over-the-top fight scene. I'm like, how is, like, being sealed in barrels and rolling down a river not already exciting enough for you? Like, calm down. Like, there's lots of, like, entertaining and fun scenes. Like, you don't need to, like, drag it out into this thing. Like, 2 movies would have been a little excessive, but 3 was just, like, way too much. It was just so over the top. And I got furious about Tariel because, Lord of the Rings is kind of a sausage fest, and if you want to add a female character, that's fine if you actually bother to, like, make her a good character instead of a boring love interest who is forced into a love triangle, even though the actress took the role contingent on not being into some dumb love triangle. And then they did reshoots and they put her in a dumb love triangle, and I was just like, cool, this is terrible. It was so cheesy. Sorry, I went off on like a totally separate rant, but those movies just made me so mad.
Well, that's kind of how these conversations tend to go anyway. Like one thing, it's all related because it's all part of Hollywood reboots and remakes and sequels.
Well, that's probably a good time for us to go to some questions. Why not?
Yeah.
We did have a question up here. I'm trying to find it.
A Matt Tecker
did you guys
point out
ever watch
earlier.
the Defense of the Last Jedi videos, and then whatever you were going to say? Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I actually did watch those. I don't know if they were the specific ones that you watched, but I've seen several where people defended The Last Jedi, and I think they actually did. Some people made some coherent defenses of why they liked the movie, which is why I personally don't think that someone who does enjoy the new movies is a bad fan. I don't think they're stupid or anything like that. I just personally don't think that they like the same things about Star Wars that I liked about Star Wars, and that's probably why they found different things to like in the new films than I did. And I think they point out some competent storytelling that happens here and there. For me, it just feels really inconsistent in the overall movies. But yeah, I think you can make a coherent defense of why you like the movies if you like them. I don't think you're dumb if you like them.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I haven't seen the defense of, but I've had a lot of conversations with people who really, really love The Last Jedi, and I was in the like I gave it a 6 out of 10 when I saw it originally, so I didn't hate it as much as everybody else. But yeah, they absolutely don't. They don't like the same things as some of the older fans, because if especially if you're watching it at a different time in your life, a lot of the older fans are guys like men who and women who were in their childhood and teens when they saw the original movies. And for somebody seeing it like as an adult, or somebody seeing it from a different generation, yeah, there's a lot of different things to pick out of these movies. Like somebody like me, I didn't see Luke as big of a hero as a lot of people. And I know a lot of other people really saw Luke as like he's their favorite character. Everybody loves him.
Oh yeah, I kind of thought Luke was a bit of a dork.
Yeah,
like and he does his best, but sometimes I'm like, man, Luke, you can be a little tiresome. But like Mark Hamill's adorable and charming, so I'm like, it's okay, it's forgivable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he's so wonderful in it. And yeah, if you do kind of sit there and kind of look at it from their perspective, absolutely they're right. And absolutely they got their hearts broken when he was disgraced with the milk scene and yeah, going out the way he did. And
oh yeah, that was weird. That is a weird scene.
No, to answer the question, no, I didn't see it, but yeah, I kind of agree that people are seeing it indifferent.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'll also say, like, it warms my heart when I see little girls cosplaying as Rey as well as Princess Leia. Like, I know Rey gets a lot of hate, and I know a lot of people say she's a Mary Sue, but I personally disagree. I actually kind of like Rey as a character, and I think she's interesting. Like, the stuff with her and Kylo was some of the more redeeming parts of the film in terms of how their relationship sort of progressed. I found it intriguing. Not great in some scenes, but interesting. And like, she got bitch slapped upside the head with a lightsaber and had to be rescued by Kylo. Like, it's not like she was like leaping in their lightsaber swinging to defeat the bad guy herself. Like, she literally had to be saved. Like, that's not really how I would describe a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Not at random. You said, did you have another question ready there?
Yeah, well, it was something that Matt Deckard had suggested we bring up. He had a question about Kathleen Kennedy having a clause in her contract. Do we think she might have a clause in her contract saying that she can't be terminated? Is that something? What do we all think about that?
Well, we've brought that up in the past as a possibility, since she was brought on to run Lucasfilm before George Lucas left. So there's a possibility, but I can't imagine it would go farther out than 5 or 7 years if there was. And I'm sure there's also a clause in there to where if unforeseen circumstances that are coming, like say a movie like Solo were to underperform as bad as it did, there might be ways to break the contract. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It might
Especially
also
Ren,
just have something where it might also have something where there's like a clause where they just have to pay a certain amount of money as like a severance if they terminate her in spite of that clause. But I mean, they may also just put pressure on her to resign and then just offer to give her more money if she does that, which is very much a possibility to just get around that, because you don't have to terminate her if she agrees to leave.
Yeah, and I think with if the rumors are true about the meeting that they had not too long ago, where they basically kind of embarrassed her in front of Pixar and Marvel as well as Disney, maybe they are kind of pressuring her to go. And if they're doing things like releasing press information about Leia being reused in the movie, like unused footage being used. Maybe they are.
Didn't they also say they were going to like add composite scenes and things like that to try and finish out her story? I'm so leery of that.
I don't know about that part. All JJ said was they were going to use unused footage from episode 7. I mean, one can assume it's obviously going to be manipulated in some way by computer, but they're obviously not going to manipulate her and do a CGI version of her.
No, I'm just wondering how they're going to swing that.
My point, I think that they think that they're just going to really minimize her character. Like, she's going to have a very small role, and like I said to Rob, they're not going to kill her.
Just let her die in the last movie.
Yeah, they're not going to have her die. She'll live through the entire trilogy, but she'll have a very minimal role in this next film, I bet. But other than that, yeah, she was kind of kept out of the loop on that. We had heard a rumor earlier that her office over at Elstree, I think it was, or what was it, Pinewood, had been cleared out, and
Wow.
JJ had taken over temporarily. So, yeah, there's all kinds of rumors swirling. But again, reiterate rumors there.
Yeah.
We did have another question here. Okay, Tyler Bioshock asks a feminist question, if it would quit flashing on me. This, in the past year, I've slowly discovered a lot of women I know are into true crime and murder. Is there a reason for that? It's really taken me by surprise. I've noticed that too, especially like the almost got away with
I'm
it
into
shows.
true crime to the extent where in university I actually took a class called The Psychopath. I actually think about this a lot. I think the reason is probably because a lot of the stories of like homicide in general that get sensationalized in particular are stories of usually female victims. And part of that is because female victims, since women are seen as helpless, like tend to tell a better story in the news, right? The missing white girl thing is actually a thing where those stories like disproportionately like come to the surface. Also, homicide is actually a leading cause of preventable death for women in America.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you grow up with an awareness of that, right, and then you grow up in the news and you hear a lot of those stories, I think it makes you think about it a lot, and it makes you kind of want to understand why it happens. And I think that's part of why. And then part of it is just that, these stories of people who do things that are this outlandish are just interesting. A lot of these people, especially with serial killers in particular, which are probably one of the most popular genres of true crime, they're intriguing, I think, because they're charismatic, intelligent people who could have had everything and gone so right, and they just went so wrong. And so you have to wonder why. Like, you look at someone like Ted Bundy and you go, why, dude? He was like a successful person. He was like a law student. He was intelligent, and people liked him, and yet
a lot of that has to do with like the chemicals in your brain that are kind of that help addiction along. Because if you know anything about like Ted Bundy, he started out a little smaller, and then he kept going further and further and further until finally rape, and then finally murder, and then finally
it escalated, of course.
Yeah, and that's a lot of all serial killers pretty much have that. But I think to answer the question, I think women are far more passionate about things. Women care more deeply, and even to like on the flip side of things, women kind of like, I was talking about this on my stream today actually, that women have like this deep emotional sort of brutality usually when they commit a crime. Like their crimes tend to be far more horrendous in some cases than men, because like when they kill somebody, it's usually for a very personal and vengeful reason.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. Women are overwhelmingly more likely to kill family members or people close to them than they are to harm strangers. Yeah. And there was almost always like a clear-cut motivation, like greed or because women have like killed people for financial crimes a number of times in amazing ways. Women really like to poison people with arsenic.
Yes.
I watched this entire series called Deadly Women, and I'd say the most common like murder method is fucking arsenic. Like,
yeah, like I was even talking about this instance
isn't that
today.
Kind of with that old play, Arsenic and
an Old Lace.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
So yeah, and I think that women tend to be a lot like more fascinated with true crime because we kind of eternalize and emotionalize stuff, and whether you're fascinated from a compassionate point of view or if you're fascinated from a sort of justice perspective, like we want to see these people brought to justice. I think that's why women kind of latch on to true crime a lot more.
I think also some of it's like preventative too, because a
guys
lot of
just
these
like
stories
bad
cover
boys.
how these guys lure people in. Like Ted Bundy would actually do things like put on a fake cast and pretend to be injured so that people would like stop and help him, and then when they would lean into the car to like help him put his books down or something, he'd bludgeon them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stole
And
that
so-
for Red Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, they did. So there's a lot of different reasons I think why true crime might be more particularly appealing to women. There is also something I will acknowledge that exists, which is a very strange fascination some women have with serial killers in a romantic way that is very
Like I
questionable.
just said, y'all like the bad boys. No.
It's
It's the Harley
it's-
Quinn syndrome.
Yeah.
It's very odd. Anne Rule talked about it a lot. She was a true crime author who actually worked with Ted Bundy at a suicide prevention hotline, and he like used to walk her home to her car at night. She wrote a book about it called "The Stranger Beside Me" that was really interesting, and she like commented in an interview and also in the book that there would be like young women in like the front row at his court appearances, and she's like, these are exactly the kind of people he murdered, and here you are,
Oh yeah.
giggling every time he smiles, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to wonder what kind of place that could possibly come from. Like, it's got to be some kind of weird psychological internalization where you're just like, what?
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of that comes from like women with very low self-esteem tend to have these sort of things. Women with these sort of complexes where they're like, yes, he's a bad boy, but I can change him.
Yep.
And
I was gonna say that too earlier.
and a lot of it comes from like just the fantasy element of yeah, okay, he's going to murder everybody but not me because I'm
Yeah.
special.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, not to take it off topic to where we are now, but to take it back onto a bit more of a topic we're normally about here at Midnight's Edge. Matt Deckard asks, should women captain starships? Be honest. I don't see why not, as long as they're not Mikey Spock.
Yeah.
Yes, of course they should. Janeway was a badass captain. Why wouldn't a woman be a good captain?
Yeah, it just depends on the woman. I mean, Star Trek Continues did an amazing episode of that about should women be a captain on a starship, and it basically the question of the episode, without spoiling it, boiled down to should they recommend a captain that might not be suitable for the job, or should we recommend her because she's a woman because we need more women captains, and it did an amazing job at putting the question in your mind of what are your feelings on gender versus merit, and it was pretty good. I definitely recommend Star Trek Continues.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. Have either one of you watched the Venom trailer? I didn't get a chance to check it out yet. I've been so busy.
not.
I have not.
Okay,
No.
so we can't answer that question. Sorry about that. Let's see here. I'm going back up trying to find some more if there was any, because we hate to miss them. Did anyone see the Mark with a C video where his son liked Finn, but then just didn't want to tell his dad that he no longer liked Finn because they ruined the character in The Last Jedi? Matt Deckard asks. I have not, but that is like heartbreaking.
That's so tragic.
I did watch that video.
No.
So yeah, basically, he's an African American YouTuber that vlogs about Star Wars and things, and he's in the community. Basically, he watched Star Trek or Star Wars, with the son, Force Awakens, and Finn was his son's favorite character, and then they went to Last Jedi, and his son didn't want to tell his dad that he didn't like it because that was their thing. They could connect over Star Wars, and it was such a heartbreaking video.
Oh no, that's so sad.
Well, and it goes to show that kids do pay attention to this shit.
Mhm.
No, of course they do.
And
Kids
you
aren't
can't just
stupid.
slap anything out there for them to just be like, because, oh my God. Rob and I watched the new Rise of the TMNT the other day, or yesterday, and we're going to do a review on it.
I'm sorry. I haven't heard good things. I haven't watched it, but I have not heard good things.
I mean, I'm not even going to get into the aesthetic point of it or anything like that. I'm just going to say it's just, I can't believe kids would even watch this. You literally have to have ADD
I mean,
to
they
watch
probably
this.
won't.
Well, and they already renewed the shit, But we noticed at the time that we had watched it, there was only about 250,000 views on the video, and it had been up for 3 days, and it's on Nickelodeon's official YouTube.
Wow.
Okay. Cobra Kai had like 2.5 million views at that point.
Yeah. Well, Cobra Kai was also good.
Right, but I'm just saying, and kids are always on YouTube. Everybody's kid I know, my kid, they're always on YouTube, even when they're doing other crap.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to click on the latest Let's Play or the latest Roblox video or whatever. They don't care about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Is Roblox still a thing? I feel so old.
I think so. I don't know.
Well, at least it was to my kid. I don't know.
Is that what the kids are watching these days?
I don't know.
Youth.
Let's see. What else do we got for questions here, guys? I thought there was at least one more I missed here. I'm trying not to miss any of them. The Avengers always need Spider-Man. That's a statement. This is the reason the old cliche is that women's... Okay, that's from earlier. Anyone remember the Fox show Women in Prison? Matt Deckard again. Not offhand. I vaguely kind of remember it, but I never watched it. Do you guys?
I have not, no.
No, the only Women in Prison thing I can think of is like Reform School Girls, but that was juvie.
A little different, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not offhand. I don't remember. So, all right. You got any more questions for the ladies, guys?
Oh, I see a good one.
Go ahead.
Any word on the new Matt Groening new show on Netflix?
I've just seen the preview. It looks really good. Other than that, I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
I'm really excited for it. It looks awesome. I love Matt Groening. I love Futurama. I love older episodes of The Simpsons. And I'm super excited to see a new show from him.
Well,
it looks great.
Speaking of Matt Groening or Groening, however you want to pronounce it, I've heard it both ways. He just come out and said they are not replacing Apu on The Simpsons with a different voice actor, and Apu isn't being taken off either. So that's a bit of change in events. I know he hasn't been on quite a few of the last episodes, but considering I thought they had announced they were retiring the character or what have you, or recasting it, that's a little weird. What do you guys feel about that?
I'm not
honestly don't care.
surprised at all.
I think they should have always. I don't have a problem with it. So
No, I was fine with the poo. I didn't think he was like super racist or anything. I mean, especially
honestly,
when
he's more of a positive.
Yeah.
Well,
they
I
gave him
in
so much.
some ways, he's definitely
He does have some of the
a
racial
character
stereotypes,
that, like,
yes, but
that you feel empathy for and that you're supposed to like. But there is also some pretty uncomfortable racial stereotypes, and the fact that it's voiced by a white person putting on a really cheesy Punjabi accent, like, I can understand why people would not be huge fans of that when that's some of the only mainstream representation of Indian people on TV. Like, yeah, I get that. I mean,
granted, if you're talking about if the character came out like in the last 5 years, I'd see your point.
That's also the other thing, where like the character's been around forever,
30 years.
But it would have been also would have been fine if they just stopped. That would have been fine. I mean, I'm not surprised that they're not going to. And like realistically, like The Simpsons hasn't been particularly good in ages anyway, so it's not like anyone's really watching anymore. So, like, fine, I guess it's whatever.
Sorry, Jess Reed, that you're having that eternal struggle of coffee or beer. It depends on what you have to do in the morning.
Drink wolves.
Yeah, if you're off tomorrow, beer.
Yeah, if you're off tomorrow,
beer.
Any thoughts on the Chris Hardwick situation? I have none, other than it shows that due process, if done correctly, can generally have the results one way or the other. In this instance, it cleared Chris Hardwick and he got his job back. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm not personally. I'm not a huge Chris Hardwick fan, but I'm happy that they decided being kind of, whether you're crappy or not is not in question, but being rumored to be kind of a crappy boyfriend in your private life shouldn't be a fireable offense. And to me, it kind of sounded like they were kind of toxic to each other, but I'm glad that I'm glad that you can't get fired for being kind of crappy in your personal life or for saying something you shouldn't in some cases.
Yeah, I don't know too much on the details because I'm not a huge Chris Hardwick fan either, but um, if it was like a mutual situation, then I'm glad that there's not one person being disproportionately punished for it.
Well, yeah, because the claim was he was kind of an abusive sort of boyfriend. He did some crap after she had a miscarriage or an abortion or something, and he said some things. He was only concerned with sex, and he was, you know, whatever. But then there was also accusations that, yeah, she also cheated on him and would text him after they broke up, and you know, just a kind of general
A lot of
toxic.
he said, she said.
Yeah. So my thing is, like, I work a lot with like abuse victims, and I have like very strict lines for like what I consider abuse, and like as long as there's no financial isolation, coercion, threats of physical violence, intimidation, punching walls, smashing objects, or threatening children or pets, it's probably good.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably just like people being shitty to each other, which is shitty.
Yeah.
But like, as long as they're not abusing each other.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, AMC let him go because of a lot of these, and then now that he's been cleared, now they've got him back on for like Talking Dead and all those shows. Which,
do you guys think that might set the stage for a James Gunn return? Or I know that's been something that's been in the news quite a bit the last few days.
oh, I hate weighing in on the James Gunn thing because I am very much like I don't, if somebody's getting accused of something like child molestation, and if they're not guilty of it, just being accused in our culture really almost seems to be like
stigma.
And so he's gonna have a hard time shaking that image. So, man, but I mean, if it's something where he just made a bunch of shitty jokes,
that's what it seems to be at this point.
And he's, you know, and clear, and it seems like he stopped after a few years too. It's not like he's going out continually doing it. He's not still doing it. He's not doubling down on stupid, and he knew at some point. Yeah,
there's a lot of people comparing it to Roseanne, and I kind of say it's apples to oranges on that, but I don't want to get into that too much here because we do have some other questions here. So, but I just wondered if you guys felt that might open that door, because I know I've said this before, but like last week I was like there was 100% no way chance he was getting his job back, but now I'm like, maybe 25-30% chance with all this stuff going on. You never know.
And with the cast kind of going out and saying they support him, but not, you know, obviously we don't support child molesters if he did, but we support him. So I mean,
and I feel like if he hasn't been investigated already, he probably is now.
Yeah.
So something will come out if it does. If it does, then it should have been dealt with years ago. Not now, actually, but otherwise, it's like give the guy his job back, or at least give him the dignity of, you know, letting the media needs to come out there with the same kind of brash storytelling they did before this to paint him as a pedophile, to go, wait a minute, maybe we jumped to a little bit of a conclusion here, and there's more proof that the guy's telling jokes than anything else. There's never been any accusations. He's been investigated, blah, blah, blah. That being said, if he were to, you know, it were to come out that way. But anyway, Jess Reed asks about Patreon. Yeah, we got some stuff coming up. I know Andre's working on a Beyond the Edge, the next chapter right now. I had wanted to get a few things up there that I haven't had a chance to yet, but we are definitely going to have more for you guys there. Jess Reed also wants to know, Ren, are you an SARC rep? Okay. I'm not even sure what that means.
I'm not either. Probably not.
Okay, let's see here. Is there any other good questions here before we get rolling? Should the same people be... That's a little too political. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, more about The Simpsons from earlier. Here's a follow-up to the murder question from Tyler Bioshock. Why not? Should I be worried about my aunt? She is into this homicide stuff, and she has a list of favorite killers. She loves Gacy and Elizabeth Bathory.
Well, if you see her dressed up as a killer clown or bathing in the blood of virgins, then yes, you should be concerned. However, other than that, I would just maybe not eat anything she's cooking if you're worried about arsenic poisoning.
Yeah.
Or as you guys said before, generally women have their victims are family members or close, or lovers, what have you. So
yeah, as her nephew, you should watch out.
Watch your back. Watch your back.
Maybe you're removed enough. I mean, as long as you don't live in the house,
Or
it's usually more immediate
As long
family.
as she doesn't constantly have to do your laundry or something, she probably won't resent you enough to murder you.
If she has a bit of a grudge against somebody, though, you might want to give them a heads up. Okay.
I might have a list of favorite serial killers as well. Though.
Same.
Just read. Sorry, Ren. What should have sounded like SARP, Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Rep?
No. My job is working with a legal aid organization, so I do a lot of interviews and intakes. It's depressing. It's really depressing.
Anthony Altieri says Ginger or Marianne, and the answer is, and the skipper too. Let's see.
No
here.
love for the professor?
No, I don't. I'm just being a shit. Because why would we ask that question? Who cares? Both.
At the same time, damn it.
Let's see here. I mean, you guys got some good questions in here, but they're not stuff we really should probably get into too much. So we want to kind of keep it a little bit more on the fun side. X-Men Dark Phoenix may be canceled. That includes New Mutants. Yeah, we got some stories about that. We got an update about that coming up. I guess I posted a video earlier that was supposed to be the update of that we talked about last night, but there was a problem with it, so I have to redo it. Any thoughts on the Godzilla trailer? Graham Strauss asks.
I loved it.
I did too.
It looks fun. It looks really fun.
Entertaining.
I mean, I'm worried it'll be one of those movies where I'm going to forget it immediately after, but it looks... I'm excited for Mothra.
They say he's got to go.
Forgettable movies can be
Go
very
Godzilla.
Entertaining.
I love Godzilla. I'm sorry. I watch Godzilla movies whenever if I can't decide what to watch, there's usually 30 Godzilla movies to choose from. Generally, that's like, okay, I'll watch a Godzilla movie. I don't care.
Yeah, they're fun background noise. They're fun. As long as... Especially if you can watch one in Japanese, but...
I love the Godzilla movies. They're so cheesy and amazing. I love just campy, ridiculous, over-the-top things like that. It's so good.
Anthony Altieri asks, what cartoon from your childhood would you like to see as a live-action movie?
Ooh.
I think they've made them all.
I have to think about this one. It'd be hilarious to watch them try to do a live-action Inuyasha movie. I bet that would be absolutely awful, but I would watch the absolute shit out of it.
Hey, I have it on good authority that anime is not cartoons.
Okay, fair. I guess if we're just talking about Western cartoons, gosh, I don't know about a live-action movie is the thing. Most of my cartoons, I would like to see a cartoon reboot or a cartoon action movie if it was actually good. I've always been really angry about the fact that Clone High just ends on a cliffhanger and you don't ever get any follow-up of any kind ever again. I'm still so sad about that.
Oh no. I think maybe for me, Gem and the Holograms. They actually need to do it.
That could actually be good.
For real. None of this a girl on YouTube with a guitar crap. No. You need holographic images on top of them so that they're disguised when they have their rock deal. You need to do it as true to the show as possible. And that movie that we got was not. But yeah, a real version of Gem and the Holograms that's actually true to... God, I need to complain about that one sometime.
That would be truly outrageous. Truly outrageous. I'd like to see a much better version of Ninja Turtles, and He-Man. Yeah. But that's me. That's guy stuff.
Well, they're supposed to be making He-Man, though.
Well, they're supposed to. And it's just to make sure they keep
And
the
everything's garbage.
or don't lose out on the fact that they spent all the money on the license. That's it. So it's going to be probably not much better than or worse than the Dolph Lundgren one. I don't hold any hope out for it. If it even happens. We haven't heard shit about it, and it should be filming already, I think. So.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I would actually watch a live-action Daria movie if it was good. I bet that could be good.
Didn't they do like a Funny or Die trailer of a live
They
action?
did with Aubrey Plaza, and she would be perfect as Daria.
There's a couple of
That would be
those
the
that would be
best
like, I
casting.
so want to see that movie.
I
Fuck
would
this
watch
being
the
fake.
hell out of that. Also, I loved their Dora action movie trailer. I would have watched that too.
Oh no.
Because like I cut it out of the Cobra Kai roundtable, but I was like that Ralph Macchio trailer they did, Wax On, Fuck Off. I'm like, I so want to see that movie now.
Yeah, no, I would totally watch live action Daria. That'd be amazing. But I'm like still so angry about Clone High. I like want a reboot of that.
I will say I was a bit upset when I found out that the Daria trailer was fake, because I'm not a huge fan of the Daria show. I like Daria on Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
But that trailer looked funny as hell. I was on board with it.
I
And I'm
man,
like,
I
damn it,
totally
I wish it
disagree
wasn't
with
fake.
disliking Daria. It's such a fantastic show.
I have my.
It's so good.
It's
I don't
not-
care
it's
what
not
Mike
made
Judge
for me,
thought
though.
about it.
It's
I
not
don't
made
care
for
what he
me.
thought about it. It was so
No,
good.
I'm agreeing with you, Ren. It's not made for me. It wasn't made for my demographic. It was.
I know, but I
definitely
think
made
I think there's
for-
stuff about it that anyone could appreciate.
sure.
Honestly, it's so good. Like the writing is amazing. I can't recommend Daria enough. Like it tackles some amazingly complex things while being really funny.
I really don't think I watched much of the Daria show. I was more of a Beavis and Butthead fan, but that was like my teens.
That's why by the time Daria came out, I was a little older, and
For
Yeah.
me, Beavis and Butthead just like, admittedly, I never really watched it. It just seemed a little brain dead for me. Like those guys' laughs were grating.
See, I loved it. I was like, that was well, and I loved it for the music. I'm such a music nerd because they would play stuff on Beavis and Butthead you would never hear anywhere else. So
Yeah.
but
Apparently, like, there's a lot of like demand for like the old like VHS recordings people did of Daria because like the DVD release they couldn't license all the music from the original
Mm.
that
MTV
would
run.
surprise me.
same thing with
they
Beavis
had
and
to like
Butthead.
release a lot of the music.
Yeah.
But if you find them like illegally on like Watch Cartoon Online or something, a lot of the old episodes are in like they're like amazing grainy 90s like quality with the actual like original music.
Yeah. Well, I know all the Beavis and Butthead is available with all the original videos, including all the band episodes and all the uncensored episodes. So
King Turd.
I think you would like Daria a lot, Random. Like even as an adult, I think you'd like
I don't know. I
it.
didn't like her when I was a teenager.
That
I thought she was kind of a snotty feminist when I was a teenager. So I don't know if I'd like her now.
Diarrhea, cha cha cha. Yeah, you suck.
Yeah, I put so much Beavis and Butthead on a soundboard back when I was doing Let's Plays. That's what kind of a Beavis and Butthead fan I am. I'm absolutely.
I love Beavis and Butthead. And the collection you're talking about, because you can't actually get the music videos or even all of the episodes available on legit DVD of Beavis and Butthead. You have to get the King Turd collection. And we're not going to say how you get it, but it's out there. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
And that has every single episode fully uncut with the videos, all kinds
And
of
the
goodies.
movies.
And
And the
movies,
Halloween
too, if you didn't get
special.
them. Yep, yeah, it's all there. I have to get a new version of it, but yeah, I love that set. Oh yeah. Besides South Park, Beavis and Butthead was like the thing for me back in the day. It was like I graduated to South Park, so
Well, yeah, South Park was on when I was like 19 or something when it came on. Maybe 17 when it like the pilot was out there.
96 or 97 is when it started.
Okay.
I can't remember which, but it was one of those.
Yeah, I was 17 in 96, so I kind of remember South Park just starting because we had not everybody even had Comedy Central back then, so it was one of those things where you had to know
Comedy
somebody.
Central on the map, yeah.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys watch Agent Carter? I watched the first season. Didn't get a chance to check out the second one yet. The first one was all right. Did you guys watch that, the little mini series?
I did not.
No, it didn't.
All right. So yeah, we got a couple more questions here, and then we'll call it a night since we're getting past an hour here. We're actually hour and 15 minutes almost. The joke's on them. Michael Bay is really making a Dora film, and
Yeah,
I
I
never
watched
saw
that.
Wax On. Fuck off. Gotta look that up. Yeah, that's pretty funny, Tyler Bioshock. You need to check that out. The whole joke of is basically that Ralph Macchio's such a nice guy that nobody wants to hire him anymore in Hollywood. So he goes through this thing. It's like he tries to make himself be a bad boy. And he even sucks at doing that. It's
I
hilarious.
love that. That's adorable.
Yeah. Like just one little bit of it, because it's like a 5-minute trailer. One little bit of it, he's in a bar trying to be an asshole, and he does the whole crane technique on some guy, and then in the background there's a news report when he's running down the street. It's like, some kid just kicked some guy in a bar, and he can't even get in trouble for kicking some guy in a bar. He can't even get arrested in this town, as they say,
Oh,
It's a cute little thing. It's funny as hell. But it's called,
that's
Wax On,
adorable.
Fuck Off is what it's called. Let's see here. That one's a little older. Let's see. Any thoughts on Phineas and Ferb? And if so, what are your thoughts? Ren and Random asked Jess Reed. I had never really watched them much. My kid watched them, but I never really watched them.
No,
I
never
watched
seen it.
it a little bit. I thought it was kind of cute and fun, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen it, so
Well,
I'm sorry. I have no answer for you.
we're
Can
so
we get
disappointing.
Can we get a Tarantino Daria film? Now that would be
Oh,
something.
man. Okay, I'd
Adult
watch the shit out of
Daria,
that.
that would be something else.
Yeah, all right. I'd watch that.
Oh shit. The soundtrack would kick ass.
Yes. Oh, Tarantino soundtracks are always good, though.
Of course. Let's see here. Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still going? Yes. I stopped watching after season 3 as well, Angry Mr. Fibble, but yes, it is still going. And Graham Strauss believes it's 13 episodes for season 3, and I would probably believe that because I'm not keeping up with it. Let's see here. Who wants a Ghost Rider series? I'm down, but they already rebooted Ghost Rider on Agents of
Okay.
S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't
Okay,
know.
but are they going to bring Nick Cage back? Because I would extra watch that.
Me too, just because, yes. I didn't hate Terminator 2 Ghost Rider 2.
Oh, no.
I didn't hate it. It was alright. Again, it was just the same thing as Terminator 2, don't get me wrong. And I didn't even hate the first one all that much. It was alright. It wasn't great. And I haven't seen the rebooted version on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I can't really comment on that version. So, yeah. Alright. Any more questions, guys, before we call it a night with the ladies here on this ladies' night here at Midnight's Edge? Have you enjoyed the show? Hopefully every week we can do this, or just about every week. Maybe even add some more women to the mix, and I can just be even more quiet. And as far as I know, yeah, Spidey films. Kevin Feige has no plans for Ghost Rider in the future of the MCU. Oliver just got back. Just want to know, what are your thoughts on the Archie comic series? You guys were talking about that last time a little bit, weren't you? The Archie, at least you were talking about the series, but...
Are we talking about Riverdale? Because it's bad. It's really bad. I think that they could have made Riverdale way more fun if they had decided to go the Afterlife with Archie route. Because similarly to the Sabrina the Teenage Witch reboot, there was a, supernatural Archie comics reboot, which I think was based off of the 90s TV show Archie's Weird Mysteries, which was an animated Archie show. I used to love Archie's Weird Mysteries, so that's what I was expecting Riverdale to be, and I was so disappointed when it was just an edgy garbage teen drama that really wanted to be Pretty Little Liars instead. Man, what a waste. That's why I'm so excited for the Sabrina reboot, because this is their chance not to fuck it up this time.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it's going to be really good. I mean, I think filling in kind of that void of spooky supernatural stuff is always good, because I see so much stuff in the superhero genre, and I'd prefer more spooky, because I always kind of grew up with
Yeah,
ghost
that was
stuff and
kind of the stuff
monsters
that I tended to watch. I watched Buffy, and I watched the first few seasons of Supernatural. I used to love Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh,
as
that
a
was
kid.
good.
That holds up really well, actually. You can find a bunch of old episodes on YouTube. I would say it holds up. Some of the episodes hold up way better than you would
Aren't
expect.
they doing a movie of that? or they'd
Oh
been
God,
talking
I
about it.
hope
I
not.
thought,
Heard
well, I
it?
thought Guillermo
Yeah.
del Toro was attached to it for the longest of time.
Okay, that could be interesting.
I
But
can't. I'm not sure what place it's at now, but I had heard. I thought.
I'm not sure how you'd make that a movie, because like the format was that kids were just telling
Well,
ghost
yeah, it'd just be
stories in
an
like
anthology
episode
movie.
format.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes way more sense. I would
Yeah.
watch that.
And it probably would be, and what you would, the best thing would do is if you could get guys like Guillermo del Toro and even like real, horror directors to come in and do like a kid's horror story.
Oh, like Sam
that'd
Raimi?
kind of, yeah, Sam Raimi. You could get John
Yeah.
Carpenter maybe to get off his ass and
Yeah.
do something.
I mean,
not that he
something
hasn't
like Are
earned
You
to
Afraid
sit
of the
down,
Dark
but-
actually would be one of the kinds of things that you could easily reboot without just retreading the same things over again,
Yeah.
because you just have totally new kids as members of the Midnight Society telling totally new stories. But of
Yeah.
course, yeah, I think they could make that good. I would watch that.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a bad reboot or even just a continuation, maybe like the.
Yeah, I feel like we throw the word reboot around when we really mean continuation.
Yeah.
Right. Or, I mean, well, that's the thing. Remake has become such a dirty word.
Yeah.
To me, reboot was a word that Hollywood created so that people wouldn't say remake. And now reboot has gotten to the point where it's where remake was, so they got to come up with another one. Reimagining was one they tried using for a while too. So it's like
Oh
they come up
shit,
with
yeah, I'll
these-
watch a reboot of Tales of the Crypt, damn.
And a lot
Sorry.
of times they could get away with using the word readaptation, which is fucked up. It's like that sounds so much more professional. Just use that, because when it comes to like comic books and movies that are based on books, unless you're ripping shit off from the other movie, you can say it's a readaptation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Carrie, as far as I heard, the original version that the director shot before the studio stepped in and said, no, we got to have all this stuff from the other movie that wasn't in the book, or nobody's gonna like it or whatever. Before that, she could have went and said, no, this is a readaptation. This isn't a remake of Carrie. But once you start pulling stuff like the new Death Wish remake, it's more of a remake because it borrows so much from the old movie, not the book. It could have been a readaptation though, but it's like,
Yeah.
I could buy somebody readapting Jaws, not remaking Jaws. If somebody comes out and says, I'm going to do like, a full-fledged
A
miniseries of the
shot-for-shot remake of Jaws.
Yeah, but no, if somebody says I'm going to do the book instead of the movie, as long as you stay away from stuff that Spielberg did specifically in the movie, I probably wouldn't be adverse to that. But I don't want somebody coming out and trying to recapture that.
Well-
you can't.
Well, it's just like how the Bates Hotel was like interesting because it was separate from
Yeah.
Psycho completely, but that Psycho remake was absolutely awful because it was a bad shot-for-shot remake of something that was already great.
Right, and I kind of get what Gus Van Sant was going for, but at the same time, it was like, what was the point? Hitchcock could
why
have shot it
bother?
in color if he wanted to originally, all
Yeah.
this other shit. It didn't need to be redone, and I don't know if it was just a way of saying, you can't just remake the same old thing. That's true, but you got to find a happy medium in the middle if you're going to do a remake of a movie. Because Psycho was actually a book. He could have done a readaptation of the book instead of done Hitchcock's Psycho, but then nobody would have liked it probably. But
Well, what are your thoughts
But
on
no one
the
liked it anyway.
adaptation of The Shining? The original, the miniseries that they redid took so much from the book
right.
to The Shining.
See, though, the thing is with the movie is like the Shining movie is a different animal.
Yeah.
Kind of like I look at Spielberg to me is like one of those guys who's like the master of adaptation, because even though Jurassic Park and Jaws have very little out of the books in comparison, they did exactly what the movies needed to do. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have the same thing there. Other than that, it's like, what can you do? It's like you got 700,000 pages to work with sometimes in some of these adaptations. It's like you got to squeeze it down. Only so many things you can do. Not everybody's going to get Lord of the Rings type of movies to tell,
Yeah.
these type of stories. Always, you're not going to get 3-hour long movies to tell a movie, So the first Shining is kind of like it is truly more of a Kubrick movie than an
Yes.
adaptation of Stephen King's book. That miniseries is more of an adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which one I really prefer because
Exactly. They're so
I'm one of those
different.
who understands adaptation to film, and I know some people are just so adamant about getting word for word, page for page in a book, and it's like it's not always possible to do that.
No, it's definitely not. And sometimes movies actually, in my opinion, improve on certain things when they streamline the story.
Right.
I mean, obviously some adaptations suck, but like
Well, Jaws
movies
is a
do a
perfect
great
example.
job.
Because
Yeah,
taking
exactly.
out the affair with Hooper and Brody's wife and all that kind of junk with the mayor. I mean, there's enough of it there to get why this guy doesn't want to close the beach. You don't need that whole mob bullshit. You don't need the affair. All that stuff was gone for a good reason. It's good on the page, but when you're doing a movie like that, it would have been a totally different movie if all that stuff was there. It wouldn't be the same movie. It'd be I don't think the movie would have been as good. So, or nearly not as remembered as it is now. Because now he streamlined it to a movie about these three guys who are going after this shark for all different reasons.
Yeah.
Instead of it being about this rundown cop who's losing his wife and through this whole ordeal is losing his mind because he's got to deal with the mayor on the one hand and the shark on the other. It becomes so stretched and not so streamlined to where it's like, okay, same thing with Jurassic Park. A lot of the stuff left out is just scientific mumbo jumbo and a bunch of extra stuff that didn't need to be there anyway. He streamlined the story to where it was what it needed to be about. He could even lost Nedry, and I wouldn't have been upset. Because I hate the villains in all the Jurassic Park movies. They don't need to be there
So corny. They're
except for
so
InGen in
top.
Part 2. That's the only villain
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because that's the whole thing, is they're supposed to be doing whatever, and they're actually going there to get the dinosaurs off the island, and then they're like, wait a minute, that actually was the only time it worked. Otherwise, Nedry's character's pointless. The storm could have knocked out the fences. You didn't need him there, because he loses the eggs anyway. So they're... and they're only good for 48 hours in that canister, so... But anyway, moving on, because we've been yakking for way too long. Is there any more good questions before we go? I know one was, what's your favorite drink, ladies? That's probably a good one to just about end up on.
Oh, I used to love a vodka cranberry.
There you go.
I get violently ill when I drink even a little bit of alcohol now. I'm 23. I've only been legally able to drink in the US for 2 years, so that's some bullshit. So I just smoke a lot of weed because I live in Washington State.
Back when I used to drink, it was like a Mai Tai, probably. They're pretty decent.
There you go.
I don't really drink much though.
Margarita.
Yeah, a good daiquiri, good strawberry daiquiri is good.
Basically anything that doesn't taste like alcohol, to be honest. I'm a wuss.
Yeah, I like girl drinks for sure.
I still order like virgin drinks, like a virgin mojito with like no booze in it. I will totally drink that. It's delicious.
Matt Deckard, I'm surprised somebody hasn't cut down The Hobbit into just what's in the book yet. I figured somebody would do that. Because I think just about everything's there in the movies. You should be able to cut around it. But anyway. Oh, any more questions real quick before we go? Otherwise, I want to thank the ladies for joining. Was there a good one? Don't go
There's
ahead.
a question about any indie comics or graphic novels.
That's a good question. I missed that one.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I used to read a lot of web comics in particular, actually. I particularly liked Mega Tokyo. And I used to think the Phoenix Requiem was pretty good. I don't know if you would call it remotely indie, but I really liked the Sandman series. Did you read any like indie ones? Read them?
I did not. I don't think I've read any like indie comics. Like my favorites were always EC horror, so like the reprints of those.
Yeah, most of my indie comics revolve around turtles that are mutated. So most, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to look through my collection again, but yeah. Andre's always talking about Sandman. I mean, I know a little bit about Sandman, but
It's pretty good. I like it.
is that really indie though? Because isn't it owned by DC?
I don't know who owns it. I'm such
Even
a
though I think
casual
it's
when
on,
it
like,
comes
their-
to.
I think it's under one of their other labels, but
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm like a super casual when it comes to
does have an
comics.
indie feeling
Honestly,
about
I
it,
like
though.
pick very specific, select like individual titles more than like whole genres personally. And like for me, the bulk of what I read was always webcomics growing up because that's just how I rolled. Another like really crappy one that was really fun was The Order of the Stick. It was like a D&D based one with just hilarious cheesy stick figures, and it was just like this sprawling webcomic that went on for so long by Rich Burlew, and I used to love that one. It's trashy, but it's super fun.
All right. Well, I want to thank the ladies for joining us here on this ladies' night once again. Hopefully the second of many more to come. Hopefully you guys liked it out there. Go ahead and drop some comments about the show. Let us know what you think. And next week we'll be back hopefully with some more stuff for you guys to talk about. And you guys can join us live and ask the questions out there. So thanks, Ren, for joining us.
Anytime, always a pleasure.
And Random Game User 42.
Thank you so much for having me.
And where can they find you out there?
Oh, sorry.
I should have said a name. Ren.
Yeah.
Alright, you can find me at Ren Rants and Ask a Law Student, or my Facebook page, Ren Rants, and I'm Ren_Rant on Twitter.
Yeah, and I am Random Game User 42 on YouTube and Random Monkey on Twitter, and I do have a Patreon also that I just set up today.
I noticed that. So yeah, definitely check out the ladies on their own respective channels. And yeah, so I thought DC Vertigo did Sandman, but that's all right. So once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us out there and listening to this ladies' night here on Midnight's Edge After Dark.